Let me tell you something that might shock you. Women are not drawn to the men who chase them the hardest, give them all their attention, or make them the center of their world. In fact, the truth is often the exact opposite. Women tend to feel the strongest pull toward the men who don't seem overly interested in them. Sounds confusing, right? But once you understand female psychology, it will make perfect sense. You see, attraction for a woman isn't just about looks, money, or charm. It's about how a man makes her feel in his presence. And here's the kicker. When a man is too eager, too available, or too invested too soon, it doesn't make her feel excited. It makes her feel in control. And when she feels in control, the mystery, tension, and thrill that fuel attraction start to fade away. Now think about the men women often chase. They're not rude or careless, but they don't make a woman their entire world either. They've got things going on. They have direction, purpose, and a sense of self that doesn't crumble just because a woman enters the picture. And that's where the magic lies. A man who's not overly interested signals that he has options, that he values himself, and that his life doesn't revolve around winning someone's approval. That energy is magnetic. In this video, we're going to break down why women prefer men who don't act overly interested, how this mindset flips the dynamic of attraction, and how you can apply it in your own life without playing childish games. I'm going to take you step by step through the psychology behind this and show you how to hold your frame as a man. The kind of frame that naturally makes women want to invest in you instead of the other way around. By the end of this, you'll see that the key to attraction isn't about doing more for women. It's about doing less, while living a life that makes them want to be part of your world. 1. Why over-interest turns women off. Let's start with the core issue. Why does showing too much interest kill attraction? At first glance, it seems like it shouldn't. After all, if you like a woman, isn't it natural to express it? But here's the problem. When a man pours out too much attention, energy, and effort right from the start, it flips the dynamic in a way that doesn't work in his favor. Women are hardwired to value what's scarce and to be intrigued by what's uncertain. When you immediately show a woman that you're all in before she's had the chance to earn it, you remove the very tension that fuels attraction. Instead of her wondering, does he like me? She already knows. Instead of feeling the thrill of pursuit, she feels safe, secure, and bored. Think of it this way. Imagine someone gives you a prize before you've played the game. At first, you might feel happy, but after a while, you don't appreciate it as much because you didn't have to work for it. That's exactly how women feel when a man gives them all of his interest too soon. She hasn't earned it, so it doesn't hold the same value. Now, let's make this real with a scenario. Picture two men texting the same woman. The first guy replies instantly every single time. He sends long messages, emojis, compliments, and constantly tries to keep the conversation alive. The second guy? He replies when he has time. His messages are short but confident. He doesn't over-explain himself, and he's not afraid to leave the conversation on a cliffhanger. Which one do you think she's going to think about more when she puts her phone down? Exactly. The second guy. It's not about playing games or being rude. It's about showing that you have a life, a mission, and priorities beyond her. That kind of energy tells a woman that she has to earn your attention, not that it's automatically hers just because she exists. And that difference is powerful. So remember this. Over-interest doesn't make a woman feel flattered. It makes her feel like she's in control. And once she's in control, attraction begins to fade. What she wants is a man who values himself enough not to hand over all of his energy without seeing if she's worth it. That's the man she chases. 2. The psychology of scarcity. One of the biggest reasons women prefer men who aren't overly interested is rooted in basic psychology. Scarcity creates value. Think about it. The things you want most in life are usually the ones that are hard to get. Whether it's a dream job, a rare car, or even tickets to a sold-out event, scarcity makes you desire it more. The same principle applies in attraction. When a man shows a woman that his attention, time, and energy are not available to just anyone, he automatically raises his value. She realizes he's selective. He doesn't give his focus away easily, and that makes her want it more. On the other hand, if a man is always available, constantly trying to prove himself and never says no, he communicates the opposite, that his attention comes cheap, and what comes cheap rarely feels worth chasing. This isn't about manipulation, it's about self-respect. A man who values himself naturally operates from a place of abundance. He knows he doesn't need to beg for attention or validation because he already has a full life. That confidence radiates, and women can sense it immediately. Here's what happens when you flip the dynamic. The less you chase, the more she invests. The less you over-explain, the more she wants to figure you out. The less you give away too soon, the more she works to earn it. It creates mystery, and mystery is the fuel of attraction. But here's the trap a lot of men fall into. They confuse scarcity with distance. They think pulling away completely or ignoring a woman will spark interest. That's not how it works. Scarcity isn't about pretending she doesn't exist. It's about balance. It's showing her through your actions that while you like her, you're not dependent on her. You're not desperate for her validation. That subtle difference is what keeps her interested. Women aren't drawn to men who smother them. They're drawn to men who make them feel like they have to step up to earn their attention. That's where desire comes from. She doesn't want a man who's available to everyone. She wants a man whose value is clear, because he's not afraid to walk away if his standards aren't met. 3. Why over-interest backfires. Let's be real here. One of the fastest ways to kill a woman's attraction is by showing too much interest too soon. Many men believe the more attention, compliments, and effort they give, the more she'll like them. But the reality is, the opposite usually happens. Instead of pulling her closer, it pushes her away. Here's why. When a man gives a woman everything up front without her having to earn it, she doesn't value it. It's basic human behavior. If something comes too easily, we don't take it seriously. The same applies to relationships. When a woman feels like she has your full interest before she's even invested in you, she subconsciously thinks, why is this guy so available? Why is he trying so hard? And that raises a red flag in her mind. Another reason over-interest backfires is because it creates imbalance. Attraction thrives on polarity, a push and pull dynamic where both people feel the thrill of earning each other's attention. But when a man gives 100% while she's only giving 20%, the balance is destroyed. She doesn't feel the need to put in effort because you're already doing all the work. And when there's no challenge, there's no excitement. Over-interest can also come across as desperation, and desperation is the opposite of attraction. Women want a man who has options, who knows his worth, and who doesn't hand over his attention like candy. If you're always texting first, always available, and always chasing, you're telling her you have nothing else going on in your life, and that's a turn-off. Now, this doesn't mean you should play games or pretend you don't like her. That's not the point. The point is to show measured interest. Enough to let her know you're attracted, but not so much that you drown her in it. Attraction grows when there's curiosity, when she's left wondering, does he like me as much as I like him? If she already knows the answer because you've made it painfully obvious, the spark fades. Think about this. Women are emotional by nature. They're drawn to experiences that excite them, that challenge them, that make them feel something. If you're too predictable, too eager, and too available, you remove all of that. You make the interaction flat and boring. And boredom is fatal to attraction. 4. The power of indifference. One of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction is the role of indifference. Most men hear the word and assume it means being cold, rude, or dismissive. That's not what we're talking about here. Indifference in the context of attraction simply means you're not emotionally dependent on her reaction to you. Whether she texts back quickly, takes her time, or doesn't reply at all, you're steady. You don't chase validation, and you don't crumble if she doesn't give you the attention you want. Why does this matter so much? Because women can sense when a man's emotions are tied to their approval. If she feels that you need her to feel good about yourself, she loses respect. But if you show that you're content with or without her, that creates tension. It makes her think, why isn't he desperate for my attention like everyone else? That thought alone can spark curiosity and attraction. The power of indifference lies in how it shifts the balance of energy. When a man is indifferent, he holds the frame. He's not reacting to her mood swings, her delays in texting, or her attempts to test him. He simply remains grounded. And that stability is what women find attractive. It signals strength and emotional maturity. Indifference also protects you from making mistakes that turn women off. When you're too eager, you overinvest. You call too much, text too much, and give away too much of yourself. But when you practice indifference, you naturally avoid these behaviors. You don't feel the urge to chase because you're not afraid of losing her. And ironically, that's what makes her want to chase you. Now here's the key. Indifference doesn't mean you don't care at all. It means you care, but you're not attached to the outcome. You can enjoy her company, show her a good time, and even express attraction, but you're not begging for her acceptance. That balance keeps the dynamic healthy. Think of it this way. If you're too invested, she feels smothered. If you're completely detached, she feels ignored. But if you show controlled indifference, enough interest to keep her engaged, but enough distance to keep her guessing, that's the sweet spot. That's where attraction grows. 5. When she feels you can walk away. There's a specific moment that changes the way a woman sees a man. It's when she realizes he's not afraid to walk away. This doesn't mean threatening her, playing games, or trying to prove a point. It's simply living in a way that shows you value yourself enough to never settle for less than respect, effort, and genuine interest. Picture this. A woman is used to men bending over backward for her. They cancel their plans, they reply instantly to her texts, they wait around for her attention. Then she meets a man who doesn't operate that way. He enjoys her company, but he's not sitting by the phone. He respects her, but he doesn't tolerate disrespect. He's interested, but he has a life that continues with or without her. At first, this unsettles her. She's not used to it. She might even test him, cancel plans last minute, take hours to respond, or push boundaries to see how he reacts. Most men would chase harder, but this man doesn't. He doesn't lash out, he doesn't beg, and he doesn't chase. He simply adjusts. If she doesn't respect his time, he doesn't offer it so freely. If she disappears, he doesn't panic. He continues living. That's when it hits her. He can walk away. He's not bluffing. He's not trying to play tough. He genuinely knows his worth. And that realization creates a powerful shift. Suddenly, she sees him differently. Instead of viewing him as just another option, she feels the risk of losing him. And here's the truth. Women never forget that kind of man, because deep down, every woman wants to feel chosen, not obligated. When you show her you don't need her, it makes your interest feel more valuable. It tells her you're with her because you want to be, not because you're desperate to be. That difference is everything. The ability to walk away isn't about arrogance, it's about standards. It's about showing her, through your actions, not your words, that you will not compromise your self-respect. And when a man operates from that place, he doesn't just earn attraction, he earns long-term respect. This doesn't mean you coldly cut women off at the first inconvenience. It means you stay consistent with your boundaries. If she respects you, you stay. If she doesn't, you're not afraid to move on. That clarity makes you stand out because most men don't have it. 6. Confidence without needing validation. One of the strongest reasons women prefer men who aren't overly interested is because those men carry a different kind of confidence. It's not the loud, arrogant kind of confidence. It's quiet, steady, and real. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need constant validation from anyone, especially not from a woman's attention. Think about how many men live for approval. They chase compliments, they wait for reassurance, they need to know if a woman likes them before they feel good about themselves. That energy is heavy. It puts all the power in her hands, and women can feel it immediately. When a man's sense of worth depends on her reaction, it doesn't excite her. It drains her. Now compare that to the man who is rooted in himself. He doesn't need her to tell him he's attractive. He doesn't need her to validate his worth by choosing him. He knows who he is. He knows what he brings to the table. He moves through life with a grounded energy that says, I'm enough, with or without you. That is magnetic to women. When a man doesn't need validation, it changes everything about the interaction. He doesn't overthink his texts. He doesn't overreact to her silence. He doesn't feel the need to constantly prove himself. Instead, he communicates from a place of calm certainty. That calmness puts a woman at ease because it shows her he's not desperate for her attention. Here's the truth most men don't realize. Women test for this. They don't always do it consciously, but they do it. They might take a little longer to reply. They might cancel plans. They might go quiet for a day or two. What they're really doing is checking to see if you lose yourself when they pull away, or if you stay steady. The man who can stay confident without validation is the one she remembers, because he's rare. This doesn't mean you ignore women or pretend you don't care. It means your sense of self isn't tied to whether she approves of you or not. You give freely, but you don't chase approval. You engage with her, but you don't rely on her attention to feel good about yourself. And here's the part that makes you unforgettable. Women never forget the men who made them feel like they had to earn his attention. Not because he was withholding or manipulative, but because he didn't hand it over like it was worthless. His attention meant something because it wasn't rooted in need. It was rooted in choice. 7. You lose yourself. Trying to please her. Let me be brutally honest with you here. Nothing makes a man look weaker in a woman's eyes than losing himself just to keep her happy. You think you're showing her how much you care, but what she actually sees is a man who has no boundaries, no backbone, and no self-respect. And a man without those things isn't attractive, no matter how good-looking or wealthy he is. Women might smile when you do everything they ask, but deep down, they don't admire it. They don't respect it. Because here's the truth. We don't want to date a servant. We want to be with a man. When a woman realizes that you've turned into a yes man, always adjusting yourself to fit her mood, her standards, or her approval, you stop being her partner and start being her project. Think about it. If you cancel your plans every time she calls, if you let her walk all over your opinions just to avoid conflict, if you say yes to things that bother you because you're scared of losing her, you're telling her, without words, that you don't value yourself. And a man who doesn't value himself will never truly be valued by a woman. Now, does this mean you should never care about her feelings? Of course not. But caring doesn't mean sacrificing your identity. Attraction comes from balance, from being considerate, but also being firm, from listening, but also leading. A woman feels most drawn to the man who can love her while still standing tall in who he is. Here's the wake-up call. Stop being afraid of her leaving if you say no. If your relationship only survives when you're constantly bending, then it's not a relationship worth keeping. A strong man knows how to hold his ground, and that's the man a woman never forgets. So don't lose yourself in the process of trying to keep her. If she's truly worth your time, she won't want you to shrink. She'll want you to shine. And if she doesn't, then you've got your answer. She was never the one. Let me leave you with something bold. The moment you stop caring whether or not she chooses you, that's the exact moment she starts caring more about keeping you. That's the paradox of attraction most men never fully grasp. Women don't truly fall for the man who bends over backwards, who constantly tries to impress, or who never stops chasing. They fall for the man who has options, self-control, and a life so full that she knows she'll have to bring value to stay in it. If you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. Women are drawn to men who are not consumed by them. It's not about ignoring her, it's about not making her your world. When you operate from that space of strength, balance, and independence, women don't just notice, they respect you, they remember you, and they're afraid to lose you. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever noticed a woman chasing you harder the moment you stop trying so much? Or maybe you've experienced the opposite, chasing too much and watching her pull away. Share your story, because I'll be reading and engaging with you in the comments. If this hit home, don't just listen. Apply it. Start living like a man who values himself first. Trust me, women never forget a man who stands in his own.